Hi everyone, my name is Jonathan Pan, Technical Evangelist for Viv Labs. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at JohnWithoutTheH to keep up with any tutorial videos I might be building. Today we're going to be building a very quick capsule that's going to serve as an input view tutorial. And it's going to show you how to use input views in Bixby. So go ahead and demo it.
What is your name?
My name is Jonathan Pan.
When are you planning to build something for Bixby?
Next week.
Do you like this capsule?
Yes.
Here's what I found.
And just like that, you'll see that this capsule conducts a very simple survey of 3 questions. So let's just go ahead and get started. We're going to close this capsule and we're going to create a new one. Let's call this the example.survey capsule. We want to set up our basic models and everything. And first we're going to create our survey model. Survey model is going to be a structure. Structures are just like objects. And it's going to have a few properties. Let's just start with the name property. And it's going to be required. So Bixby's saying that it can't find the property name, and that's because we haven't created that model yet. So let's create the name model, and that's going to be a text, and the name of it is name. And now you'll see that that warning went away. Now let's create an action called start survey. So this action will, get fired, and then it'll start the survey. And let's get rid of the warning first by having it be a search, or having the type be search. And it's going to collect a name with the type of name. And it's going to output a survey. So what's going on here is that this collect field is going to try and collect a name from the user. And we actually have to set the min to be required right there. And then after it collects the name from the user, it's going to output a survey. And here we can see that the survey has the property name within it. So next we need to create the JavaScript file associated with the start survey action. And here we have the name that we're collecting from the user, and it's going to return an object that matches our survey model because it's returning a survey right here. So then let's create the endpoints file to link everything together. I just call it capsule.endpoints. And this is going to be the start survey action. And the name is going to be an accepted input. And the local endpoint is referencing the JavaScript file, which is the startsurvey.js. And finally, in order to initiate this, let's create our training for this. And we're just going to do the training as start. And it's going to call the action start survey. Just click save and compile. And now let's make sure that you have that capsule selected and just type in start.
I need a name to continue.
So here it says I need a name to continue, and that's because it doesn't have an input view associated with it when it's trying to collect a name from the user. So right click this and select new view. I like to name these views to be the same name as the models that we are trying to elicit from the user. And this is going to be an input view, and it's going to need to match a name concept. And here we're going to try and create this simple form just like that. In order to do that, we need to render a form. And this form has a key called elements, where we decide what kind of form it's going to be, and it's going to be a text input form. So this ID here is the ID of this form, and I'm just going to name it a lowercase name. The type here is referencing the model, which is the name model, and the label is what it shows in Bixby right there. So that's the label. And the max length, this is the number of characters it can be. I'm just going to set it to 100 in case someone's got a very long name. And finally, we need an on submit. So this tells Bixby what to do when you submit the form. And what it's going to do is it's going to try to output a name to the user, or it's going to try to output the name concept to Bixby. And this viv.core.form element name is referencing the ID that we set here. So whatever you name this ID, you have to plop that right into this line. So then we can also have a submit button where we can customize the text of the button at the bottom. So now that we've created this input view, we should be able to see it.
I need a name to continue.
And it's still saying I need a name to continue because that's because we need a message right here.
What is your name?
And now we can type in our name here and just click submit name in order to submit our name.
Here's what I found.
And there it is, it's returning the survey. However, we want Bixby to also recognize
What is your name?
our voice inputs as acceptable inputs. So let's say I say, my name is Jonathan Pan.
What is your name?
It doesn't know how to do that yet because there's no training for that. So let's go ahead and train Bixby to do that. And we're going to do it with these three trainings, Bob, John Doe, and my name is John Doe. So in the training, just type in Bob. Click on Bob and set that equal to be a name. And the goal here is for Bixby to output a name, but only when there is a prompt for name. And now let's do John Doe. Highlight John Doe and set that to be name. And just like the previous one, we're going to do an app prompt for name. And the reason why we're doing both Bob and John Doe is so we account for one-word names that people might input and two-word names that people might input. It is suggested to do more training than this to account for example, 3 or 4-word names. For this tutorial, we're just going to cover the one-word and the two-word name scenarios. And finally, we want Bixby to understand my name is John as a valid way to input a name. So just like this, we can train it. We can select a John to be the name right there, and it's going to be app prompt for a name as well. Let's save that. Okay, let's give that a try.
What is your name?
My name is Jonathan Pan.
Here's what I found.
And there we go. So now Bixby is properly trained to accept these forms of names that you might tell it. So next we're going to build a checkbox. So let's create our like model. And it's just going to be a simple Boolean, true or false. In the survey model, we're just going to add like right here as a property. And the type is going to be like, the new model that we just created. And in start survey, we want to collect like from the user. So add that as the second input here. And we also want to make it required, so that way it prompts the user every single time that it needs a survey. Finally, we add like to the endpoints in the accepted inputs, and then we add like to the JavaScript portion, to the JavaScript as well. All right, and now, just like last time, it'll be like I need a like to continue when we run the capsule.
What is your name? I need a like to continue.
And in order to resolve that, we need to create a view that matches the like. So name this like, and it's going to be an input view where it will match the like concept. And the message will be, do you like this capsule? Inside the render, we're going to render another form, and it's going to have elements. But this one, instead of a text input, we're going to use the checkbox. ID for this is going to be the like, lowercase like, and the type is going to be the model like. The primary text, which is the text at the top, is going to be yes, I do like this capsule. And the secondary text is going to be I also like this tutorial, and we'll give it a thumbs up on YouTube. be sure to thumbs up this video. It really helps me a lot. And we're going to set the default value to true. This value here, you can set it to true or false for the checkbox. That way, it starts off as one value or the other. By default, it's actually false. So if you want it to start off as true, you can add that. Then we have the onSubmit, where the goal is going to be to output a like. And it's going to gather that from the viv.core form element like. Oh, sorry, lowercase l, because the ID up here is lowercase. Let's save that and give it a try.
What is your name?
John.
Do you like this capsule?
Okay, now we're here and we're able to click on this to check it or uncheck it. And you can click go.
Here's what I found.
To submit it. However, you're not able to say anything to properly use voice to respond to this. Yes.
Do you like this capsule?
And in order to do that, the training here is going to be a little different from the previous one. We actually need to create a vocab file that maps different things that we say to true or false. And then after that, we can train it for one of those things that we map to true or false. And I'll just go ahead and show you how to do that. Right-click this and create a new vocabulary file called like.vocab.bxb. And here, we're just going to do vocab of like. And we're going to have true as one of the vocabs that we're trying to train Bixby for. And this is the various ways that the user can say, yes, I like it, I like this capsule, yep, so on and so forth. You will have to decide, what you need in order to account for the situations that you want to account for. And for example, for false, you can have no, nope, this capsule sucks, and whatever else you might want to put in here. So then the training, as I mentioned earlier, you can just do yes, and it's going to be like, and the value is going to be true. And this is because yes is in the vocabulary file as being synonymous to true. And here, the goal is going to be like. It's going to be at prompt for like as well. Let's give that a try real quick. Start.
What is your name?
My name is Jonathan Pan.
Do you like this capsule?
Yes.
Here's what I found.
And there we go. Now we've accounted for at least a few things that the user can say that we want to be equivalent to true. So then the last thing that we're going to build in this capsule is a bit more complicated. It's going to be the calendar. So this calendar is very useful for selecting a single date, multiple dates, or sorry, not multiple dates, either a single date or a duration. And in this example, we're going to use it to select a duration. So first, let's create our duration concept or model. And this is going to be a structure. And instead of this property that we normally have for structures, it's going to actually take the role of viv.core.baseDateInterval. So this lives up to its name. It's imported from the viv.core library, and it's going to use the base date interval. Now, in capsule.bxb, we actually need to import the viv.time capsule as time. This is just an alias for us to reference this capsule throughout the rest of the capsule. And version number 2.92.13. And you might be wondering where I get this version number. If we go to the documentations, we can just type in here library. And here you can see this link right here. Just click on it. And you'll see viv.time. And these are the most up-to-date, stable version numbers available. So I do recommend using whatever version number you see here in the documentation. So you can just copy paste that, for example, but I already have it here. Now that we've created our duration model, we also have to add it to our survey. And let's put it in between the name and the like, because we want to ask the user this question before we ask them if they like the capsule. And in the start survey model, something similar here as well, the duration. And the type is going to be a duration. And here we're going to actually need a default select with the rule of select first. And what happens is that if you say to Bixby, for example, from September 1st to September 10th, Bixby will actually come back with this year's September 1st to September 10th, and also last year's September 1st to September 10th. And the first one is going to be the one that we need in this case, which is going to be this year's September 1st to September 10th. And here in Start Survey, let's add the duration. And for now, we're just going to output duration. And in the Endpoints file, we're going to add duration as well. And I actually think, oops, I think I put the duration at the end instead of in the middle. And we'll just move that up as well. So we have our duration here, we have our duration here. Parse error. Okay, yes, the comma right there. All right. And now, just like the others, we need to create a view for it. So let's right-click this and select New View. It's going to be the duration view. It's going to be an input view. We're going to have it match the duration. I'm going to put a message for it. And we're going to put a render right here to render a calendar. Now, the initial value here, there's some syntax involved with this. It is in the documentation, which I'll be providing a link for. And that's referring to today's date, the initial value, now.date. And we're going to allow a range so that the user can select a range of dates. And for the restrictions, we don't want the user to be able to select past dates. So block past dates is going to be true. Let's save this and give it a roll.
What is your name?
Jonathan Pan.
When are you planning to build something for Bixby?
And now we have this date time. We have this duration picker, which is very useful. Users can obviously scroll around and click whatever time that they plan to work on something for Bixby. But just like before, we need to train it to be able to accept voice inputs from the user. The voice trainings we're going to do for this one is just going to be from January 1st to February 28th. Just type it in here from January 1st to February 28th. And highlight this whole thing, and it's going to be a time.date interval. So you do have to use this specific thing that we had to import in the capsule.bxb for this to work. And the goal is going to be a duration. Add prompt for duration. And now let's try that out.
What is your name? When are you planning to build something for Bixby?
From January 1st to February 28th.
Do you like this capsule?
Yes.
Here's what I found.
And there we go. Now Bixby is returning this structure right here, which is the example.survey.duration. It looks like nonsense here, but I'll show you in a sec how to take a look at it. It's returning the like as true, and our name is Jonathan Pan. Everything is behaving as expected. So we go into the debugger right here. We can click on this thing, the duration, and we'll see a start and an end. So here it started from January 1st, in this case 2020, because we don't allow past dates. And the end is February 28th, just like we said. So now we can use this to do whatever we want to it, utilizing various built-in Bixby time libraries and so on to manipulate it. And that's it. That's a quick video to get you started with input views in Bixby Studio. Thank you for watching.